name is Charlton Singleton. I am the artist in residence emeritus here at the Gilliard Center, and welcome to this episode of Raising the Volume. On today's episode, we welcome a legend already. At such a young age, this young woman has traveled the world all over. She has one of the most powerful voices in the business, and she recently cemented her legacy with a Grammy win. So please welcome Quiana Parler.
Thank you, Charlton.
How you doing, sis?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Thanks for the amazing introduction.
Well, I always try to be, tell the truth about it. So of course.
Well, you're a legend as well.
I don't know. I think only my dogs think I'm a legend.
Your mama and your daddy.
Yeah, they do. They go kind of all out sometimes. They show up. Sometimes they just show up, and I don't even know that they're there until somebody comes and
When I
gets
see
me.
them in the parking garage.
Does Charlton know you're here?
No.
It's so role reversal.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So now, I know a lot about you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just in all of the years of working together and everything. But this is an informative show, and so we'd like to make people a little bit more aware of Quiana. A lot of times people just see Quiana on stage. I have the good fortune to see Quiana off the stage, which I'm going to talk about too. I like to talk about because it's really some great things that you do, probably that you don't realize.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get into that. So,
Okay.
just for the record, let's start off. You are from
Harleyville, South Carolina.
now in relationship to the Low Country. Where exactly is Harleyville?
That's what, exit 179. So as you're leaving Charleston to head to Columbia, you have Jetburg, then you have Ridgeville, and then you have the Harleyville Holly Hill exit. So you get off that exit right there.
Right there.
You go to the right for Holly Hill, and you go to the left for Harleyville. So I'm from Harleyville.
Okay, so
Yeah.
these are kind of small town.
Very.
Yeah.
We don't even have a stoplight.
Come
We have
on.
a caution light.
You know what? I was gonna laugh, but Allendale doesn't even have a caution light.
See, so you know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Now, is that originally where your folks are from?
Oh Lord. No. Well, yes and no. My grandmother's from St. George, South Carolina.
It's not that far.
Yeah, but they used to live in Charleston.
Mhm.
In fact, Mommy said they had a house. My grandfather had a house. I think she said Hanover Street, but
Oh,
that
yeah.
was so far before, way
Mhm.
before my time, and she was still
Mhm.
a little girl. So our roots started here, and they migrated. I don't know the backstory of how they got to Harleyville. We have so much family out there, but I'm sure, with my grandmother being from St. George, and my dad is from out there as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So you just mentioned family. Now I know, growing up in the 10-mile community of Allendale, that we had family all around. Was that the same way? Like all of my cousins were around.
Yep.
I had aunts and uncles that were everywhere.
Everybody's
and
related.
and on top of that, even the people that weren't necessarily
Hmm.
related to us were still family, and they would raise you,
Yep.
as well. Was that the same experience?
Yeah, and still to this day, they still try to raise me. And I'm 41 years old.
Yeah, that'll never end with them.
So, when we're on the road, my son, he spends all of his time out there.
Hmm.
So he's a Charlestonian. His dad's from James Island. So, he's one of the original, Gullah people. And,
hmm
but Chamberlain spends time in Charleston, but a lot of time in the country. So he's has a good mixture
That's
of
that balance.
yeah, he has a lot of balance with that.
Mhm. So, you're out in Harleyville. Now, I've known you since probably you were a teenager, and you were
Hmm.
already singing professionally by that time. When did I meet? How old were you? 17,
I
16?
was 15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's before we get to that, when did you start singing, per se?
Oh Lord, I started singing when I was a little girl. So I started here in Charleston at the Dock Street. And I think I was about 7 or 8. And I studied with June Bonner. But before that, I was singing at home. My parents were the wedding singers of Harleyville. They sang at everybody's weddings in Somerville.
Okay, hold on. So
Yeah, they were wedding singers.
I'm gonna ask you this weird, just because I'm being funny. Your mom and daddy had a party band?
No, they did ceremony.
Oh,
So
they did
would
ceremony.
they
Yeah.
would sing like Endless Love,
Yeah, yeah.
Atlantic Star.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would rehearse with my dad when my
Ah.
mom was in school, and I would rehearse with my dad while she was in school, and yeah, they
That's
just
kind
did
of how
ceremony.
it started up.
But my dad had a funk band when he was in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been in me. I was born from day one.
All right. But
Yeah.
then you said you studied with June Bonner.
Yep, at the Dock Street Theater.
All right. Quick, just to throw this in there. June Bonner was the premier vocal teacher, opera style vocal teacher in the Low Country, maybe even the state of South Carolina. And she was a former singer with
Metropolitan Opera.
Metropolitan
Yeah.
Opera. Yeah.
And she took me under her wings, and I would stay with her. And she, for doing piccolo spiletto, she had the Coconut Club, which started on King Street, and then King Street. It was the Omni. It used to be the Omni. It was called the Omni.
Right, I
before
remember
Charleston Place.
before Charleston Place.
Yeah, so she would rent a room there, and it was a gospel jazz brunch, and that's where I met Quentin and Tommy Gill and Kevin and the Lucas sisters and Sam
Oh yeah,
Dennis
yeah. Ooh.
and Caldwell.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like 10 years old.
Ah.
Yeah,
So,
so
th-
that
so
was
you
my way.
was that like your first time singing like a gig?
Yeah,
10 years old?
yeah.
Girl, you better go ahead.
And then I did the Symphony Orchestra, and
Wait a minute. I didn't know that you did the symphony.
yeah, before I was even a teenager. Yeah, there was I don't know if he was their manager or he worked with. His name was Marshall. I don't know if you remember. You may not remember Marshall. He passed away.
Mm.
But yeah, with David Stahl. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a little girl.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, Quentin Baxter, musician extraordinaire, drummer with us in Ranky Tanky. Quentin and I had an apartment,
Yes.
and he started working at this brand new show, Serenade, which was in town, and that was around 94 or 5, somewhere around there. And I remember we were at the house, and you and some of the other girls, the dancers, and
Veronica
some
and Kelly.
yeah,
Yeah.
Veronica and Kelly, they came over just to, I guess, hang out or whatever have you. And that's when I first met you. Let's start there. How did that whole Serenade experience start for you? How did that come to be? Because you're still in high
High
school?
school.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in high school, and Quentin and Tommy called. One of the singers was having a baby, so they needed a short-time replacement for her. So they asked me to come in and audition for Calvin, Brad, and Jenny, and I did.
Calvin B.
Gilmore. He owns the
country-
Carolina Opry
Yeah, yeah.
in Myrtle Beach,
Right.
which he also owns Serenade. It was
Right.
his show, and
Mhm.
so I came in and I auditioned, and I did "I Will Always Love You."
Ah,
You
yeah.
know, it was popular then.
Right.
Still popular.
Yeah.
So I did that. But before that, I remember sitting at home the day they called me, and I said, well, I'm 15 now. And I was about to turn 15. I'm going to either work at Food Lion or work in the tobacco field, because they pick tobacco where I'm from. Like,
Okay.
that was a lucrative job. Like, that was a really good paying job in the country. And so I was working on the calculator, because in the grocery stores they always type fast on the register, right?
Mhm,
So I'm sitting there working on that, and because I was like, I do not want to work in a tobacco field, but if I don't have a choice, I will. Quentin and Tommy calls about Serenade, and things. I've never had a 9 to 5 since then. Like, they hired me to do Serenade, but the day before, it was like the week that I was supposed to start, I caught the chicken pox
What?
at 15 years old.
Ooh. Okay.
So that put me back a little bit for my start date. And but I did Serenade up until I was 19, 18, 19. I went to college. Yeah, at
Yeah.
the College of Charleston. But I also became a student at the College of Charleston when I was in the ninth grade, thanks to Tommy and Ace's dad.
In the ninth grade?
Ninth grade. So I had credits that carried over from then when I started at the college. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm telling my age right now.
You already told
I
your
know.
age at the
I'm so
beginning of
proud.
this.
Though.
You
I'm
said
so proud to be
41.
41.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So now you do Serenade. Um, as that show comes to an end, and this is probably closer to 2000 or
Mhm.
some, when it does come to an end, what do you jump into? Do you decide to go back to school, or you're like taking the reins and going with the music career now full time, or even more so?
Well, I spent some time in Houston in the music business. I was trying to be an R&B hip hop singer, and I came back home, and Ross called. To Ross Caval, he was in Serenade as well, but he was also the musical director for Blood, Sweat, and
Blood, Sweat,
Tears.
and Tears.
Jocko, he's
Jaco
played some amazing
Pastorius.
people.
Yeah.
And he said they're opening a club on the market called Mitchell's on the Market, and I'm starting a Latin jazz band. And it's going to be me, you, Quentin, Kevin Hamilton, and
Mm-hmm.
Mark Sturbank. I'd never met Mark Sturbank before.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back home for that, and he sent me all this music in Spanish and Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't speak any of these languages, like, but I studied it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and I learned the material, and we did that run on Mitchell's on the Market. Probably set me up to meet some of the most amazing people and friends that I've been able
Mm-hmm.
to maintain since then.
I remember that was a very popular spot, and there's still people today that come and so say, well, I saw you. I've heard people, I saw you on Mitchell's, on the
Mm-hmm.
market at Mitchell's.
Yep.
And that's way back, well, it's not way back, but it's back then in the
Yeah.
day a little bit. Yeah. So you're doing Mitchell's.
Doing Mitchell's and college and failing Spanish all at the same time because singing it and speaking it was two different things.
Right.
And there's different dialects. So I was studying on my breaks, but all of the people I was meeting that was trying to teach me during my breaks, they spoke different dialects. So my brain was like, okay, I don't know which one to pay attention to. So
Right.
I got a call from my friend Tanya. She was a dancer in Serenade.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they're having auditions in Charlotte for American Idol. You should come. And I said, well, I can't come because I'm here at the
Mhm.
club, and I have another friend named Tanya who just moved to Charlotte. So my good girlfriend Tanya from Serenade calls, and I talked to my friend Tanya who had moved from Mount Pleasant to Charlotte. She stood in line for me until my parents, they drove me there that night. We got there that morning, and they were only going to pick one winner from Charlotte. Back then, you got a golden ticket. You didn't have to stand in those long lines.
Mm-hmm.
The golden ticket helped you skip the line.
And this was season
Season two. So
two.
Kelly Clarkson won season one,
Mm-hmm.
and this was the season that Ruben and Clay won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Ruben won and Clay was second. But, so I did that, and I won the ticket
At Charlotte.
in Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
So from Charlotte, I went to Atlanta, and it was also that's where I met Josh Strickland. He was from here as well.
Yes.
And then I met Clay Aiken there as well. And he walks up to me. He said, "You're the girl who beat me in Charlotte." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And he had this red hair,
Mhm.
and we just started hanging out, and we've been friends ever since. So we went on to Hollywood. We all met back up in Hollywood, and they put us in groups, and we remained friends from there. And when Clay won, when Ruben won,
Ruben won.
I saw Clay on the Ellen show one day, and we were on AOL Messenger.
Ooh.
That's
there you
how-
go.
yeah.
That's back in.
Yeah, and I text. I said, I said, "You're a background singer. She has the same hairstyle that I'm wearing right now." And he said, "Oh yeah, do you want to come on the road with me?" And I was like, "Okay." It just like that.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard anything for months, and then I get a call from Orit. Randy Jackson was the MD for that tour, and she called about me going on tour with Clay Aiken and Kelly Clarkson. I didn't know it was Kelly Clarkson that we were going to tour with. And Orit, actually, she's from James Island. She was Randy's assistant at the
Ooh,
time.
More connections to the
Yeah.
little country.
Yeah, she was from James Island, living in L.A. And he flew me out. I wasn't prepared. I didn't take any makeup. I didn't take a jacket. I didn't realize the time zone changed. When I was on this long flight, I was freezing. I thought I was going to get sick. And so I ended up doing Jay Leno one night with him. And then that following week, I was on Jay Leno again with Kelly Clarkson. Like this big, I had no idea what I was walking into. I was like, what are the odds of someone calling and saying, come on tour with me? But when
And
I
then
got there,
boom.
yeah. And life hasn't been the same since. God is good.
That's right.
Yes, He is.
So, you end up, I mean, because usually, well, I would imagine, and I've heard that when you get to Hollywood,
Mhm.
then a lot of those singers become, good friends, and they
Mhm.
stay in touch because that's that season, that's sort of that crew.
Yeah.
And so you end up touring with them and befriending them, of course, and sort of in that group. How long were you with them, or doing those performances and things with them?
10 years we were
Mm.
on the road. So I did Kelly, I did Clay, I did Ruben. I'm missing somebody. Oh, and then I got a call when I decided I wanted to go to beauty school because I never wanted to go to college. I wanted to do nails.
Really?
My mama signed me up. Between my mom and Tommy, they took care. I wanted to do nails, so I decided, okay, so I'm an adult now, and I'm a mother. I had Chamberlain. Um, I'm going to go to beauty school. I wanted to go to beauty school because I did real estate school. I've done that, and in the middle of real estate school,
Got
I
your
get a
real
call.
estate license. You got
What?
everything.
What? I
Okay,
always
I'm
seem to go
sorry.
back to music.
It does go back to music for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the middle of school, I get a call from Jason, which he was my MD with Kelly and Clay and Kelly,
Mhm.
and he asked, one of our singers is going on the road with Justin Timberlake. She just passed a few weeks ago, by the way, and we're looking for a replacement for her. And do you want to come on the road with Maroon 5 and Kelly? I was in a parking lot at Sam's. Yeah, I was about to go in Sam's because I left school. I was like, what? But in the midst of all of that, I started my wedding band. I can't forget about my wedding band.
Oh, we're gonna get to the wedding
Yeah.
band. Yeah.
So I said, I don't know how I'm going to work this out, but yeah, I'll be a fool to pass this up, to go
Right.
back out on the road because I hadn't been out in so long. I devoted all of my time after touring to my son.
Yeah. Chain.
Yeah, he needs my time. But in between all of that, I'd done studio records with different producers and musicians.
Hold
and
up. Time out. Time out. Pause right there. You just said that. I heard that you worked with David Foster.
Yes. Now that was a dream.
David Foster, for those of you that do not know that name, is one of the most prolific songwriters ever. Period. Um, Between songs that he's written for Chicago,
Hmm.
Earth, Wind and Fire, just you could if you Google his name and look at all of the credits, it is a who's who of the music industry.
Man
If you
behind the
get a
music.
chance to be on the same show or working with David Foster, take it. That's just the name. Yes.
He even did the Chipmunks album.
Wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean a Chipmunks album?
Alvin, Simon,
Yeah,
Theo.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd you get?
So when Clay was working on his album, we had to go through a list of executive producers, and he chose David's sister, James Foster. Now James was on my vision board. She's been in my vision book. I had a book because she used to do a show. There was a show before American Idol that was kind of similar, where the judges would critique you, and I've never been excited about working with different artists. I've always wanted to work with the producers, the people
Oh
behind
yeah,
the
that's
music.
definitely yeah.
And James Foster was one that I just really admired and adored. And for me to meet his sister and become good friends with her, that's how James connects David with a lot of people. She's A&R. She has her own identity outside of David in the music business.
Right,
And
yeah.
so James introduced me to David, and we worked on Lord Renee. I can't remember Nate's last name. I've done 3 or 4 albums with David. And I met Michael Bublé, and we hung out with Michael Bublé. I was in the studio when he recorded "Doon Doon 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 Doon." You're a shining star. You're
Yeah, yeah.
getting. I was in the studio when he did that because I was supposed to sing a duet with him, but someone else got to do one of his girlfriends got to do the duet with him. But yeah, I've been doing this for a long, long time. But
So pause it right there with being out on the road. You mentioned earlier your wedding band.
mhm.
Now, Charleston is definitely a destination city for weddings.
Yes,
Um, we talk about it more so than you because we like to brag on our sister. But we argue the point, which is very strong argument, thank you, that you have single-handedly built the wedding band art form in this area.
really. Thank you. I'll take it.
I mean, I'm just saying, I got love for a whole bunch of bands and musicians in the area, and I've played in some of them, and everything. But it was generally known that if you really wanted to get your wedding jumping in Charleston, you first called Quiana Parler and
Oh
Friends.
wow. Thank you.
That's kind of the undercurrent,
Wow.
speech that's out there.
Well, you know who first turned me on to doing weddings, believe it or not? I played my first Charleston wedding gig with Clay Ross. I did.
That's hilarious.
Clay Ross.
Clay Ross, everyone, is the guitarist in Ranky
Yes.
Tanky. And I love you, Clay, but not necessarily what you of the wedding band sort of thing.
Yeah. On
Wow.
Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island down there, yeah.
Amelia Jekyll is one of those islands.
You know what?
Yeah.
There is some really weird energy symbolism in that
Yeah.
that you did your first with
Yep.
Clay
Yep.
on a Gullah island,
Yes.
and then we full circle it now. There
Yep.
you go. Okay.
Yeah. That's where I got the wedding bug, and then I met some agents here and Brian Mahanes. We all we decided we're gonna tackle this wedding business and the musicianship here. With the guys, I've been with the same guys for a long time. I don't like to musician hop in bands because when I build a relationship, for me, the band and the music, it's all about a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that relationship on stage, it's going to sound like it. That's why it's
Correct.
choppy
Right.
because you don't know each other well
Mm-hmm.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when I decided, this is what I'm going to do, I want to have a core group that I could always call.
Mm-hmm.
And if we subbed it out, it was because it was a real dire emergency,
Right. Right.
So, and that's what makes a band strong. Like you didn't see substitutes in Earth, Wind, and Fire at first for
Right.
years.
Right.
You
Mhm.
still had your core guys in the
Mhm.
front.
Mhm.
So that's where I got that from. And the wedding business here is very lucrative. It's been a blessing.
Yeah,
And
Charleston, there's so many churches and people are coming to the holy city to get
Yeah.
married,
and I'm
it's a
still
nice.
booking weddings.
I know.
I still book my weddings. We still play weddings,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it's been good to me.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be able to employ musicians that you only had a Sunday gig, but what about we have weddings on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday. This was going to be my life now that I'm back home off of the road with my son. So
Yeah.
let's make it work.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad to know a lot of these local musicians who's like taking off with it because it's such a good business to be in.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's been a blessing. I have no complaints about the wedding industry here.
Mhm.
Even with Jamie Peeler helped me so much with sound and management, and I have Kristen now. It's just I can keep going on and on about this wedding industry.
Mhm.
It's a blessing. So come to Charleston and get married and call us. Yes.
All right. So now, because of that being a business, it is a wedding industry business.
Mhm.
One of the other things that I really admire you for is your tenacity about the business side of the music industry. And a lot of times, our younger musicians that are trying to make it, they are concentrating with good cause on the actual performance and being good and showcasing themselves. But then, unfortunately, we see a lot of times where they will get, you know, the shock of their lives, or their life, because they, got taken advantage
Hmm.
of on the business side.
Yep.
And I just always admired that about you. Even when we sometimes talk shop, or you send a text and you say you need to call this person. Kiana's younger than me, but Kiana functions as a big sister to me.
No, I.
Really, she does. She will text me in the middle of the night and say, "Did you call this person that I told you to call?"
Yep.
Or something like that. Where did all of that, come from? That tenacity like that.
Getting burned at a young age.
Ah, okay.
I had my first lawsuit. And my mom was gonna kill me when I was in high school
Hmm.
with an attorney who's actually a local attorney here, but we shall remain nameless.
Yeah,
Yes,
remain nameless.
but I learned from then, get your business and keep your business in order,
Mhm.
because the amount of money I had, thank God I had it at that time because I was working to pay out. I never want that to happen again,
Mhm.
because just any little simple thing in a contract or a verbal contract could get you in a lot of trouble. So from there, I took what I learned from that as a teenager into being on the road with. I learned a lot from Clay Aiken,
Mhm.
just watching him and the way things move with management and the record label. And the wedding business is one thing, but the record industry, the
Mhm.
music
Oh
industry is
yeah,
a
that's a
whole
that's a
nother
whole nother thing.
animal,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And it's all about protecting yourself as an artist. I think people forget. I've had people say, "Why are you so tired? All you do is sing," and I'm like, you have
Mm-mm.
no idea the
Mm-mm.
business and
There's a
what goes
lot.
into the singing is the easy part, really,
Right.
but what we do business wise to get to where we're going. And I still say to this day, I don't know how the Rihannas and the Beyoncés, I know they have a strong team, but the things that we have to answer to during the day as Ranky Tanky, because we own the band and this is our business,
Business. Hmm.
it's a lot.
It
Like,
is.
and even with the time zone change from Vanessa being in LA and us being here, like it's always something. Like you have a period where you shut down. I don't shut down at all because I feel if I shut down, I'm gonna miss some money, and I like money. So
Right.
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
If I don't respond, he knows something's wrong. Like
Right.
I'm really, really
Yeah.
busy. But
Right.
yeah, it's all about that. And I have an amazing attorney, Will Lewis, who has taught me. I took his class I would sit in his class at the college, and I will also speak to his music law class
Mhm.
every semester. And I learned so much from Will.
Mhm.
Just sitting in that class, everybody should take a music law class. You'd be surprised the little things that they hide in these contracts, or that's not in the contract, that the musician and the artist should be protected first. Like I'm
Mhm.
hearing now artists are adding different things in their contracts since,
With the
with the
pandemic and
pandemic,
yeah. Mhm.
and as we should and they should, to protect ourselves,
Mhm.
because this is our livelihood. If we don't protect ourselves, we can't work.
Right.
So we need everyone else to protect themselves, but we also need it in writing so that if something happens, we can circle back around and know where to pinpoint that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I wish I could be in a music in a entertainment law, but that's not.
That's not
I'll
in
be
the.
a consultant.
Okay.
I'll consult.
All right. One more question. Um, January 26th,
Oh God.
2020.
Yeah.
Um, Describe that day.
Whew. So, well, my grandmother passed that week before, or 2 weeks before that, when we first got to Denver, and but she saw the nomination. So that day, I had a whole emotions helping mommy do the program for the funeral and get dressed for the Grammys. But I had a sense of calmness that day because, like I told you before they announced it, we still get to walk away with being known as Grammy nominated
Nominated.
artists. Now it was
Mm-hmm.
going to suck to come back home and with a loss, but
But
we still had that
there's
title
still tons of fantastic musicians out there that are world famous that
without Grammys.
without Grammys that still have Grammy nominated in front of their names. So that's a big to do for us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So I was excited about that, but I felt like, when we remember that night when we had wine, well y'all had wine cuz I don't drink wine
Mm-hmm.
in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, this feels like a Grammy
Record.
record.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It did. It was just something about that process we went through, even bringing in the kids and filming, and it was just different.
Mm-hmm.
It felt different
That
from the first
whole
process.
process of all of those days and just putting it all together and yeah, once we said that's a wrap,
Yep.
it was definitely a certain calmness that we had
Oh yeah.
that was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like it was a really weird feeling. I can't even explain it.
Yeah.
But that day when we were sitting there and we were waiting for Esperanza to make. Now I do remember Carlos Santana. Was it Carlos? Or
No,
It was, who
Chick
was
Corea.
it? See, I don't even. I just heard the
I
music.
know you were
Out.
totally gone.
I was gone.
Do you remember what I said to you before all that?
See you at the end or something like. What did you say? Like we going.
I said basically what we were just saying. I was like, look, if we don't win, we still got Grammy nominated in
Yep.
front of our name. Love you, sis.
Yes.
We'll be all right. You know.
Yep.
No, but yeah, Chick Corea.
That was Chick Corea. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
unfortunately, the late Chick
The
Corea
late-
now,
yeah.
but he put on an
I-
incredible song.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Okay,
My mind was.
okay,
We're next.
all right, we're next. Yeah.
We're next. Our category is
Our
next.
category's next.
So then she calls us. Well, she calls the name of the album "Good Time," Ranky Tanky, and we're sitting there like, who is Good Time? We
Totally went over our heads.
and I was like, that's us.
Greatest moment of our musical lives at this point, and and the
I was
Grammy
like,
goes to Good
Good
Time,
Time. I was
Ranky
like,
Tank.
who-
The crowd erupts. The rest of us, we're sitting there. My wife is like, "Wake up! You won! Wake up!"
I was like, who is Good Time?
What just happened? Yeah.
And Will stood. They asked that you not stand up, let the artist.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
stand-
yeah.
And Will stood up with his
With his
camera, so you see them pan on him first.
Right.
And then I take off, and I take off running like I was on the Price is Right down the middle of
Right.
the aisle because I didn't realize we were sitting close, but we wasn't that close.
Yeah, it wasn't that close.
Yeah, and then it was just I couldn't believe it. And your glasses was fogging up when you was reading your speech. It was so funny. That day was so funny. It was like mixed emotions. Like, oh, we just won, but we didn't know at 1st
Mhm.
Like we were just sitting there, like, who was
Like,
who's Good Time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was an amazing day. Like it happened, and still can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I still cannot
I
believe
still
it.
have those moments too. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing, and this journey. When I look back, over my life,
Oh, here we
Yes.
go. Sing your song.
back from day one of June Bonner with the Coconut Club and Ann Caldwell with her Gullah stories and her music,
Mhm.
and just it's been here and around us, and coming back full circle from playing Mitchell's with Kevin, and I've been on tour. I've worked with Walter A. Walter A. wrote the Titanic, and I did an album with him, and I've worked with so many people. But to come back home and win a Grammy with my brothers,
Mm-hmm.
the foundation, the root where I started, as a teenager, as a little girl, who would have ever thought?
Mm.
Never in a million years. This is one of the most amazing feelings. And we all get along and we like each other.
Right.
That means a lot.
That's the whole thing
That
right
says
there.
a lot.
That's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been a blessing. And, I saw Chamberlain one night. He was on Snapchat with my Grammy. I don't play with my Grammy. We don't play with the Grammy.
We don't
Put it back.
put it back down.
Yep. But let's see what happens next. I would love for us to win an NAACP Image Award, and we can some other things, but
I want us to go for the EGOT, Emmy,
oh my God, that would
Grammy,
be.
Oscar, Tony.
Listen, you couldn't tell me nothing.
You'd never come out your house.
I don't come out of my house
You
unless
already don't come out of your house. That's why I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yes. Oh, Charlton.
Wait
We
a
didn't
minute.
tell everybody.
What?
Charlton gave me my first puppy at the age
Why
of
would,
15.
please don't bring
I
this.
have to tell people
Don't bring
this.
this up.
My first puppy was given to me by Quentin and Charlton because Quentin was allergic or afraid of dogs or something like that. So they gave me the dog to keep in the country. Thank you, Charlton. I have my love for dogs because of you.
Thank you. Are you going to end it right there? Please say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
His name was Diz.
Diz.
Yep.
Well, sis, like again, I said thank you for coming on the show. You're always welcome to come back on the show if you want to talk about some other topic. We really appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all. We'll see you on the next episode.